Hello and welcome to another Moment of Consequence, another battle report series being brought to you this week. And this week we have Orcs and Goblins versus Savage Wood Elves. These are going to be the lists that Jake and Casey take to Denmark. This was recorded before they went. It was their final battle. And we're going to try to do things a little bit differently in the intro. We're going to try to get you to the action much quicker. So without further ado, 1,600 points, take the hill. Orcs and Goblins versus Wood Elves Battle Report Episode 9.
Alrighty, Casey and I are here with our final tournament practice battle, 1,600 point tournament rules, Wood Elves versus Orcs and Goblins. So hopefully, this will go along with the report that one of us won the tournament in Denmark coming up, but yeah, we'll post this after the tournament, so no one knows our secret strategies and whatnot. So, Casey, what do you got in your army?
So I've got 5 War Dancers that actually have shields, not additional hand weapons. 12 Archers, 5 War Dancers with additional hand weapons, and a War Dancer Hero, that's the General. Level 3 Mage on a Unicorn taking Gray Magic. Another 12 Archers in the Woods, a Tree Man, 5 Sisters of the Thorn that I've never used before, so this is their first battle. 3 Warhawk Riders with a Champion, and then 6 Glade Riders that have done their Vanguard move.
Yeah, and the Orcs and Goblins got 10 Wolf Riders with light armor shields, spears, a Boar Chariot, 12 Forest Goblins, freshly painted, Doom Diver, Savage Orcs with great weapons, Orc Biggins, and I've got the War Boss in there and the level 4 Night Goblin Shaman, Clubbas and Nettas, Black Orcs, Wolf Chariot, and more freshly painted Forest Goblins. Okay, so Wood Elves moved up. Some units kind of tactically behind the hill. War Dancers moved up into the difficult terrain, and the barrage of shooting took out 2 Wolf Riders. The Hail of Doom arrow put 2 wounds on the Wolf Chariot, and 5 Forest Goblins were felled. They did pass the panic test on their own native leadership, believe it or not. Okay, just had Orcs and Goblins turn 1, so did some moving up. The Savage Orcs failed their animosity check. Doom Diver was wildly off target. Forest Goblins entered the hut and shot down a War Dancer. Wolf Riders swung way around the flank. Boar Chariot rumbled up alongside the building. And the Bolt Thrower missed. I think that's it. Okay, Wood Elf turn 2. The Wood Elves are just pouring over the hill into the center of the battlefield. Some pretty effective shooting. The Glade Riders shot the Chariot, killing it. The Night Goblins fled after seeing the destruction of the Chariot and just fled right through these Orcs. A little better luck for the Forest Goblins. I think it must be their fresh paint job. They got charged by the Warhawks, shot 2 down. The Champion, stunned by that, apparently did not cause a single wound, and then they just killed him. So that was a little rough for the Elves. Let's see what else happened. In the magic phase, the Savage Orcs got the Dance of Despair cast on them. The Radiance of Ptolos got cast on the War Dancers. And a Doomfire Ring hit the Forest Goblins in the hut and roasted 4 of them, though they bravely passed their panic check. And for the Orcs and Goblins, there's an attempt to use the Horn of Urgok to rally these guys, which would have been really dangerous because they could have then charged the mage, but so a scroll was used for that one. A Doomfire Ring shot hit these guys and killed 2. They also passed their panic check. And a Hand of Gork was attempted on this big unit but it was dispelled with a mental duel, and the shaman lost the duel and took a wound. So quite a ferocious magic phase. And did I miss anything, Casey?
I don't think so.
All right, heading into the Orcs and Goblins. Alrighty, so pretty eventful Orcs and Goblins turn 2. So the these forest goblins and the ones in the hut just continue to dazzle. They shot down all but one of the Sisters of the Thorn. Very also exciting in the movement phase, the Doom Diver landed a perfect shot on the treeman, rolled a hit, and then a 1 to wound. So almost glory for the goblins. Otherwise, the clubbers and netters rallied. The biggins turned to face the hill. And in the magic phase, there's quite a bit of doomfire ringing. The wolf riders, which had actually moved over here next to the hut, four of them got hit with the doomfire ring, and the rest fled off the table. And then the glade riders that were over here got hit with the doomfire ring, and all 4 of them got burned to death. Not to put too fine a point on it, but that's what happened. And a Bridge of Shadows was cast on the War Dancers. I used my scroll to stop that. Decided that was just a little too uncomfortable. And I tried twice to dispel Dance of Despair on these guys. Failed both times. That's it. That's so yeah. We got a battle, folks. Okay, so Wood Elf turn 3 was dominated by the fact that the War Dancers and War Dancer Hero charged the Savage Orcs who had Dance of Despair on them. They absolutely tore through the unit, killed 11 of them. With Dance of Despair, they couldn't fight back. They fled. They later rallied with the Horn of Urgok in the magic phase, hence why they are now facing forward, but they'll probably just dance right into the War Dancers and die anyway. They caused this crew to flee and the Forest Goblins to flee out of the hut, but those units, of course, have rallied because of the Horn of Urgok being cast. Wood Elves also moved up here. The wizard kind of moved up between the biggins and then the clubbers and netters who were right next to them. In the magic phase, he sent the clubbers and netters all the way over here with Bridge of Shadows. Let's see. What else have I forgotten, Casey?
I don't know.
I think, Mork Wansi got cast on the treeman, so he's up in the air. There's an attempt to do Hand of Gork to move the Black Orcs to be able to charge the wizard. That was dispelled. I think that's about it for highlights. Okay, just had a quick Orc and Goblin turn 3. So it's kind of weird. The Horn had rallied a bunch of units, but then the Savage Orcs who had Dance of Despair danced right into the War Dancers, got slaughtered, and made everyone flee again. The only unit that was brave and held was the Bolt Thrower crew right here, but and the Treeman with his terror, which also caused these Forest Goblins to flee, causes Chariot to flee. But they are now re-rallied thanks to the final blast from the Horn of Urgok. Anyway, there's lots of rallying and fleeing on this whole side of the battlefield, and the Savage Orcs are gone. Let's see, what else happened? So the Bolt Thrower hit and wounded the mage, but his magic war paint worked, so he was not wounded by that. So the clubbers and netters are kind of trying to get back in the battle. These units kind of turned to face the middle. These guys moved up and rotated, so their corner is on the hill, so they're right now the only unit contesting the objective. And then in the magic phase, there was a Edbutt cast on the elf mage, which did a wound and made it so he couldn't cast. And then the Doomfire ring was unleashed on him. He failed his magic natural dispel again. I think I rolled an 11 for hits, and then just rolled terrible for wounds and did 2 wounds, which would have killed him, but he has the magic war paint, so he has a 3+, and Casey got 1 of the 2, so he's down to 1 wound. So my heart was racing. He almost got killed. It was close, but he is still alive, and that is the end of turn 3. We just had elf turn 4. So what happened? A bunch of War Machine crews got murdered by the Sister of the Thorn and the Mage, who almost got killed in the process. I was off by 1 on a wound roll, and then on the roll only would have been a 6-up and a 5-up to save him. So close call, but yep, War Machines are gone. The War Dancers shimmied over in a line, unfortunately very much blocking the line of sight to the Mage, to Casey's chagrin.
It's not ideal.
It did not work out right. In the magic phase, let's see, is there anything else of note that happened before the magic phase? The treatment remained Mork's Wantied up in the air in a green hand. Rolled an 11, wasn't even really struggling to get out for some reason. Apparently was into it. A couple of these guys got shot, and then in the magic phase, the Black Orcs got Hand of Gorked up onto the hill, very much lined up for a charge against the archers' flank. Okay, so it's the end of Orc and Goblin turn 4, seeming like a really good turn. Casey ruined it at the end, and I'm really disgruntled right now. So here's what happened. These guys moved up on the hill triumphantly. The Black Orcs charged, and the archers fled. This had a failed charge. These guys made another attempt on the mage's life, and he narrowly escaped yet again. All the action really was in the magic phase, so starting out, this guy was really kind of screened by the War Dancers. He used total power to cast Bridge of Shadows to move them here. This is the one with the General, who's quite powerful. Then I used Hand of Gork to move these guys right into the archer's face. Then I cast Here We Go on these guys, preparing to get charged, giving them, some advantages. And then Casey cast Dance of Despair on these guys. They've got the Banner of Arcane Warding. That failed. And then I had 3 Dispels, and they all failed. So I had 4 Dispel attempts. And yep, it got through, and I am not pleased. I'm summoning all 38 years of my maturity to take this video. These Wood Elves, War Dancers, charged the dancing Black Orcs on the hill, or Biggins with the Black Orc War Boss, into the rear, and just mostly the General just slaughtered 6 of them. I think there's 1 other wound caused. They didn't have a break test that was passable given the combat res. Fled, were run down. The Black Orcs fled. The Clubbers and Netters fled. The battle's over, folks. The Wood Elves' sneaky tactics have triumphed yet again. All that's left on the Orc and Goblin side is the Boar Chariot, which is basically stayed out of the fray the whole battle, and then these freaking heroes. It's really all I have to be pleased about right now is the amazing performance of my Forest Goblins. So, but yep, it was quite the battle. We'll give a little post-battle report in just a second. All right, what a battle, Casey! How did you do it? How did you pull off that nasty Wood Elf magic?
I just got very lucky.
Oh, that worked.
Yeah, I don't know. It was actually a really good battle. Like the end kind of was like a disaster for you and very lucky for me. But like And that was cool.
Agreed.
That was like a moment of consequence. But the rest of the battle, yeah, it was great. There was like a lot of back and forth. Like early on, we took some pot shots at each other, and there were like moments where I felt like I was getting the upper hand. Then later on, it kind of seemed like you had the upper hand, and you were really like putting units on the objective, and I was kind of out of position, and felt like, yeah, your magic was much more effective kind of in the middle to late game.
Mm-hmm. That's why I was getting hands of Gorkov.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it was great. I mean, that was kind of like the flow of, I guess, advantage or disadvantage that I saw. And then at the end, I got lucky to get the Dance of Despair off. It was a 6.25% chance that would have happened.
To fail 4 dispels in a row.
Yeah. So I knew it was a long shot. I didn't really expect it to work, but when it did, I mean, that basically won me the game. I think other than that, maybe with a turn 6 and like a pretty good charge, but yeah, I would have had to get lucky in just a different way.
Yeah.
Equally, probably, improbably. But yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a sweet battle. I agree with your sense of the flow. Like I think the first half of the battle, it was fairly even with you probably having an edge. Like it felt
at
like
moments, yeah.
Yeah, like it kind of like we were kind of like going blow for blow, but it felt like you were maybe like getting in a little bit more advantageous positioning as it was happening. So it wasn't like a big, clearly you're winning, but it just sort of felt like maybe you just had the initiative, you kind of were doing sneaky-ish things. But I also felt like my lines were like holding up, like nothing was like feeling totally discombobulated or anything. My magic didn't seem to be really flourishing, but some things were being taken out, and the forest goblins were shining. That was like my highlight, which was great because I've been painting those like all month and just finished the banners this week, so it was fun that the forest goblins were just like absolutely poison arrowing elves left and right.
Those forest goblin archers are nuts. Like they're a really good unit. And I think that's been like a big addition to the army is just those 2 units.
Yeah, because it's like brand new to me, and I love those 2 units of 12. I mean, they're so cheap, and they really do have like a powerful shooting attack, and then they're just there. Like
it's
you can't really ignore. Like they're good enough that you can't ignore them.
But they're cheap enough you don't really care.
They're cheap enough. It's like
if I'm expending resources to kill,
then it's almost like that's me winning too. You know, it's like, oh, you used your doom firing on my 54-point unit. Well, that's also a success for me.
Yeah.
So that was fun, but yeah, I think I really thought I like had it basically in the bag when I got my big unit of biggins with my characters on the hill, and then was slingshotting the other units into position to claim the objective. Before that, I was kind of like, your 2 units of archers were, pretty uncontested to just come up at the end of the game and claim the objective. And I was like, unless I hand of Gork stuff, like that's the only way I can do anything to those units.
Yeah.
But once I did hand of Gork stuff, I was like, okay, well, Casey's like War Dancer unit with his general is far away, and his treeman is literally just loving being in the Morkwansia hand.
Yeah.
He rolled
an 11 and a 12.
He had rolled an 11 and a 12. So my interpretation of those rolls is that the treeman was just like really enjoying being in the hand and was like
he was not interested in battle anymore.
He was just like snuggling into the hand is my imagination around those rolls. So
yeah.
The treeman was out, the sorcerer and war dancers were kind of far away, and the sorcerer was kind of blocked, which was kind of Casey's big mistake of the game, I think.
Yeah, that was
although powered your way right out of that mistake, so I guess it didn't.
But not by skill.
But I guess it did though, like work out. So it was a little painful to not be able just like to fight a real fight as an orc. You know, you just want to fight, and to be dancing instead of fighting. It's just not the way you want to go down. So it was really that was tough. That was because I would have loved to just really have gone toe to toe in a challenge, general to general.
Yeah.
But because that would have, I mean, I think. Well, I mean, obviously.
I think you would have crushed the War Dancer unit.
Especially with Earwig. I mean, I had Earwig go, so I mean, my general with the adamant armor, he was toughness 7. So your guy would have been wounding on 6s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I would have challenged. The rest of your guys only did 1 wound. He would have done nothing to my general, or maybe 1 wound.
Yeah.
Well, you had rerolls. You had rerolls, so you would have done a wound. Or
1 wound-ish.
probably would have done a wound. And then I probably would have done, like, 2 and killed you.
Yeah.
Because I would have been...
Yeah, because my guy's only a hero level.
Yeah, I would have been 3+, 2+,
Yeah.
with the Blade of Ensorcelled Iron. So, probably would have splatted your guy.
Yeah,
But,
that's not
you
the
know,
kind of fight I'm trying
That's
to
not the
get
kind
into.
of... Yeah, and you didn't. You obviously wouldn't have done that. So, yeah, you played it very well. And, you know, even though we're sort of saying, oh, like, that's such bad luck that I, you know, with 4 dispels didn't dispel it. But, you know, it's also like, well, I drew 3 dispels. So I could have just as easily drawn 1 and not gotten 1. And so, I mean, you know, that's the fun of the game, is that these things are so unpredictable and things can get through. And I got stuff through your natural dispels. And
one thing that I did this battle that I hadn't done before was use the Bridge of Shadows to move one of your units.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun, because I didn't really have like a great option of like one of my units to move that like was really advantageous, but I could take your clubbers and netters basically out of the game, even though
until I put them back in the game.
Exactly.
But yeah, that was a fun move. Well, and so we should mention the thing that didn't happen but would have been crazy, is you were you wanted, when instead of, so your what you did do was use Bridge of Shadows on the War Dancers in the well-known sequence at this point.
Yeah.
But your idea before that was you wanted to cast Bridge of Shadows on my biggins that were on the hill.
Total power.
With total power, and just move them way away from the hill and way out of commission. And they just weren't all, you could tell they weren't all within 18 inches.
Yeah, it's only off by like an inch-ish.
Yeah, so that was your kind of original idea, which obviously wouldn't have required the Dance of Despair. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the Wood Elves get my creative juices flowing. Like, I think more out of the box, because I feel like I'm using guerrilla warfare tactics.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's very... It does make it feel like a really different battle. Like, I think... felt like I came into this battle much more wise to like for like what to be aware of and what to kind of try to prevent. And I think I did do a much better job than the last time we played this matchup, where I just got circles run around me. You know, deploying in a really conservative way, just trying to kind of keep things. I don't know. I guess it was mostly in the deployment that I felt like I really successfully avoided a lot of like what happened last time, but yeah.
Well, so I'm curious. So this will come out after the tournament in Denmark, but like, how are you feeling about your army, and what did you think of this game, and how that reflects on your army going into that?
I felt pretty good about it. I mean, it's, the Wood Elf matchup is obviously a little more of an unusual battle. And I think some of the things that I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to take that, like the Doom Diver, it's kind of like, I think that was mostly just because of the unusualness of the game. So I feel pretty solid on the army.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing, I mean, there were things in this battle that I would change, like in this particular matchup, but nothing that stood out to me as something I would change overall. I mean, One thing that I kept saying this whole time was, I really don't like the WOG check on this level 4 shaman. Like I said that how many times? Like every time.
Never failed it.
Like I never failed it, but how is that going to be the case in the tournament? Like
that's the thing is
it's my only wizard. It's a level 4. He's got the Doomfire ring. He's an expensive character, and I roll a 1 and he's just out for a phase, which isn't the end of the world. And there could be phases where, especially where it doesn't matter, like if there's a low roll in the Winds of Magic but it does not feel good.
Yeah.
To roll every single magic phase and just be like, maybe my wizard just won't be here this time.
That is a feature of the Orcs and Goblins, is like you get a lot of bang for your buck, and there's like a lot of kind of cool, powerful, dynamic stuff, but also it's unpredictable, and like in some ways, you didn't like fail a WOG check, and you only failed like 1 animosity check this game, and you have done things to mitigate, especially animosity in your army, but you could have games where you just get unlucky and like those things just go horribly.
Yeah, and I think in the course of the average battle, like probably failing 1 WOG check usually wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yeah.
But I mean it definitely wouldn't be the end of the world. It might actually in some cases really not be that big of a deal. But it's just uncomfortable. It's just not. It's not great. And I think in the past, really up until this build, I've really always taken 2 lower level shamans. But I think one of the things that changes, I really like the idea of having the shaman in a unit with a black orc.
Yeah.
Because that takes out the animosity problem, which is even bigger than the failing a WOG check. Because if you fail animosity, the shaman's out for 2 magic phases.
Yeah.
Which is twice as bad.
Yeah.
So, in a way, like having 1 that you don't have to worry about animosity at all seems lower risk than 2 where, obviously you could put 1 with a black orc and 1 elsewhere, but it's like then it's like a really weak character and a combat unit, and
I think having the warrior familiar on him is really good, because there was a turn where I was like, well, I can charge in with my 4 war dancers with shields, and I can do that storm of swords or whatever it is called. No, that's like the George R.R. Martin novel, but it's like it's like whatever it is.
It might be called that.
But like
your flurry of blades, perhaps.
I forget what it's called. I don't use it that much, but so I was like, oh, I can maybe take out the wizard. Then I was like, well, the warrior familiar protects him from that sort of thing. So it is like fairly secure in that unit.
Yeah, I think it works out well to have him in that unit with the warrior familiar, protected by the warrior familiar, protected by the black orc from animosity.
Like a really grindy combat where the warrior familiar gets killed, it could get rough, but that's like.
But if there's a grindy combat, like it's probably going to be mid to late game, and like he's got 4 wounds, he's toughness 4.
Yeah,
he's not like a total pushover. Obviously, it's not going to be that hard to kill him, but it's just like not that common of a thing. It certainly could happen, but I think if I was up against. I don't know. There's.
Yeah, I think, but the warrior familiar, if you're going to be in that unit, having the warrior familiar is like kind of necessary.
Yeah, and it's not that expensive, because if you're sort of like, okay, well, I want 5 wide, 5 deep, and you replace the big one, it's 20 points minus 8 points, 12 points.
Yeah, it just takes a magic item slot. But so you had warrior familiar, crimson amulet, dispel scroll, doomfire ring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good kit.
Yeah. And we both are loving the Doomfire ring.
Yeah.
We both took out each other's fast cav unit. You took out the Wolf Riders, I took out the Glade Riders.
Yeah, the Doomfire
right there
ring
it's just like...
It's so good.
And you took out some Forest Goblins with yours too.
Yeah.
And I threatened your mage's life. Your mage, that was another thing in the battle that was a moment of consequence, was your mage's life was threatened. And I think it was at all points like more likely that he survived, but it was
totally feasible.
It was like a 2 out of 3 he survived, sort of a couple times.
Yeah.
So that was certainly a big deal. So yeah, it was a sweet battle. I hope that I sort of used up my. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say I had bad luck overall, but whatever.
It was like a catastrophe at the end.
I hope that is now out of the way, and then in the tournament I'm gonna win, and we'll see what happens. But it was fun. It was cool. I really was probably more dispirited by the dance. I mean, I think the Dance of Despair, really
got you.
It really got to me personally, in a deep way. I truly felt the despair that my orcs were also feeling, and I am now revitalized by the love of moments of consequence in Warhammer.
Yeah.
And can't wait to go to Denmark. How soon are we going to be there? We're going to be there next week.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we fly in 2 days.
So it's, what day is it? Oh, this time next week it's going to be the eve of the tournament.
Yeah.
We're going to have played Warhammer with Baldur.
It's pretty wild.
At this point in our lives in a week.
Yeah.
It's like a lifetime achievement.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
I feel like your army's in good shape, and I feel good that I've kind of made the decision to use Wood Elves for the tournament. I feel like more confident about
Are you keeping your army how it is? Or are you gonna...
I think so, yeah. I feel like pretty good about how it is.
Seemed pretty good. I mean,
it's like a little fiddly, like there's not that many like objective claiming units, not really any units that can grind in a protracted combat, but like it's good at what it does, which is kind of like fiddle about and kind of run circles around people and get into positions where I can get advantageous charges and situations.
Yeah, I don't know what. I mean, I can't think of anything I would change. I thought the mage on the unicorn, which is the first time you've done that, I thought that was sweet with the magic war
really
paint.
like that
was. I mean, you could have died, and I guess maybe we'd have a little bit of a different tune right now. But I mean, I thought that was quite cool, and the Sisters of the Thorn. I mean, they seemed.
They were threatening. They got shot.
They didn't have a good battle, but clearly their promise was, I don't know, it didn't make me think they weren't good. It just was like, okay, I had the right units to shoot at them. You failed some ward saves that you could have passed. Like, it's kind of how it turned out, but
yeah, they're a tricky unit because they don't put out enough damage to like charge anything really tough to the front, but they're like, they're not, you don't want to like just run them after like flank chaff.
They're like a charge a premier unit in the flank unit.
Yep.
That's like what they are.
Yeah.
And they will like probably live to do that unless you really target them with like a lot. It was hard to kind of. I think the one thing you can kind of uncomplicatedly do is shoot small, arrows and whatnot at them, because the ward save is like, well, whatever. Any unit would have a full armor save anyway. But anything else like bolt throwers and spells, and I mean spells, it's like they've got a natural dispel and a ward save against it. It's just like, is this even worth it? Obviously that depends on the context, other targets and whatever, but yeah, they're not a unit you can just like get rid of. Like, it's kind of more complicated.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think we're ready, Casey. I think we're ready for Europe.
We are.
Cool, man.
But yeah, thanks for the battle, Jake.
Thanks for the battle, Casey. Other than the Dance of Despair thing, but yes, it was great.
All right. Good game.